Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo Podcast. I'm Joey Calvo. Please continue to help support the victims of the California wildfires. They do still need help rebuilding after everything that they lost in the wildfire. So please reach out to those charities that are still working with them. So today we have Josef Stetter, and he is the resume whisperer and corporate culturist who has helped over 12,000 people land their dream jobs in as little as 2 days. He's written 12 books and have been a generalist in recruitment and small to global clients like Deloitte, which actually has an office here in Philadelphia, Apotex Pharmaceuticals, Tata Consulting Services, and more. He has a multitude of funny, interesting, surprising real stories from his own experience, those of his clients and candidates. So, Joseph, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Joey. It's an honor.
Okay, so how did we get to where we're at right now? What led you to it?
So I'll start with saying I did not know what I want to do when I grow up. And so growing up in a Jewish family, my parents were like, go get a good job. You need an education. So I studied economics and business, got into finance, worked in finance for 7 years, and kind of realized you could not pay me $1 million to work in a bank again. Because at least my experiences was I think I'd get better treatment in prison. Over the course of trying to define, I've not only switched careers 9 times, but jobs 18 times. So I've personally gone through the trials and tribulations of trying to show that you have transferable skills. As I was doing this, I worked for a recruiting company where in my first year there, I generated $760,000 in revenue. My supervisor, who'd been there for 11 years, generated $140,000. To thank me for generating $750,000, the owner gave me cheese and crackers.
Wow.
And I was like, seriously? And she's like, well, the cheese is from like a grocery store where they massage the cow for a month. And I'm like, do I look like I'm 65 years old that I need cheese and crackers? At least give me a CD or something that I'll put to use. If that's the level you appreciate me, I'll just open my own firm. And so I opened my own firm, and in the process of trying to give back and help people beyond what I do in recruiting, I started doing lectures and webinars and going, libraries and anywhere I can find to just offer value to people. And that led me to helping over 12,000 people land their dream job in as little as 2 days.
Okay. All right. So, you've written over 12 books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a generalist in recruitment. So, in reference to these companies that I mentioned earlier, how did you reach out to them and say, "Hey, let me be your recruiter"?
So again, you have to understand it, and it's similar to job finding. There's a level of salesmanship. There's a level of kind of getting their interest. So a lot of recruiters today focus on here's why I'm great. I have the most offices. I have the most money. I have the most employees. And there's so many ways of measuring why they're the best. I actually do the opposite and say, here's the root of the problem. So for example, statistics today show that one open position in North America costs an average between $100,000 and $180,000 per month. Okay. When you calculate, let's say, the overtime that people are working and they're not getting paid for, and therefore they're burning out and starting to call in sick. When you calculate the time it takes to, find, interview, and even when you hire someone to train them, usually the training is done on a more surface rather than in depth. So when you calculate all the variables, it's about $100,000 to $180,000 a month. So if you have a company that has, let's say, 10 open positions, like a Deloitte and Touche, the accounting firm, I go, if you have 10 positions open for 6 months, that's 100. Let's go on the low end. That's $100,000 per position times 10. That's $1 million times 6. That means Deloitte is losing $6 million in 6 months. Would you rather lose $6 million in 6 months, or would you rather pay me, let's say, $10,000 to $20,000, depending on the seniority of the position, for me to find you somebody faster and better? And so when you speak to the pain of a company, it's much easier to kind of land them as clients and explain to them, here's the value. Now, one of the things that I've done in order to distinguish myself from the competition and say, well, what I will do for you is I will not only give you a 1-year guarantee on every single person that I place, which the industry standard is only 3 months, but I put every candidate through multiple personality assessments and psychometrics so that I can give my clients insight to say, here's what this person is. So this is a person, let's say, that loves learning. So if you want to keep them, tell them what they're going to learn on the project that they do. And then if they perform very well, incentivize them through paying for development, whether it's personal development or professional development. It doesn't really matter because you're going to be more productive when you're getting things that you want out of it, for example.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Hold on. Bear with me a moment.
Not a problem.
Okay. Give me some anecdotes of weird interviews that either you have heard about or have faced.
Well, I definitely have. So I'll kind of give you 3 of my, we'll call it the worst ones that have happened, if that's okay. And I'm sure you're going
go for it.
them. So the first one of my clients was Canon, the photocopier and cameras and so forth. They needed a senior account executive, base salary $150,000, $150,000 possible commission. The HR manager was one of the most stiff, rigid, proper women I've ever met in my life. When I say stiff, rigid, I'm talking like British proper, like button shirt up to their chin, perfect posture, zero sense of humor. I found a guy from Xerox who already had books with Fortune 100 companies. Spent an hour telling him, under no circumstances, crack any jokes with this woman. Just be completely professional. First question of the interview, she asked him, what motivates you in life? His answer, verbatim, sex and money, in that order. And then
Oh my God.
And then proceeded to go like this to her.
Oh my.
So
what? That was a quick interview.
Yeah, the interview was done after one question, and then she called me and yelled at me for an hour and a half for sending somebody so dumb for a $300,000 job. A second example, I had a Capital One credit cards is one of my clients. They need a graphic designer. This was kind of mid-November, so they preferred to hire someone as a temp because year end, and they didn't want them on the books. I found them a woman that was stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Super bubbly personality, extremely talented a graphic designer. They hired her. She's on a job for about 2 weeks. Senior VP walks over to her and says, listen, we know you're only been here for 2 weeks. We know you're only a temp, but everyone in the company loves you. I want to personally invite you to the Christmas party because I want you to feel like you're part of the team, you're part of the family, and we're excited to kind of keep you more than a short range period. She showed up to the Christmas party in an outfit that left nothing to the imagination. And when I say nothing, I mean see-through scarf.
Oh my God.
Proceeded to get completely sloshed within 20 minutes of arrival. And if that wasn't enough, walked over to the senior VP that invited her to the Christmas party, and in front of his wife, stuck her tongue down his throat.
Oh, wow.
And when he threw her off, she turned around, grabbed the first woman she saw, and stuck her tongue down her throat.
Oh my God.
Now,
oh my God.
I'm sure you've heard the expression, Joey, shit rolls down.
Yeah.
Imagine the night the VP had trying to explain to his wife why this stunningly beautiful, naked woman is making out with him in front of the entire company.
Oh God.
Right. So when I got the call at 9 a.m. the following morning, let's just say he yelled at me for 5 hours straight.
Wow.
Right. And as much as, yes, I'm the recruiter, but forgive me for being a little bit more than PG, but how sexually promiscuous are you is not one of my interview questions, nor is it one of my reference questions, for example. And this also happened at the Christmas party, which is an extension of the company, and a lot of people don't understand that your behavior at a company event still reflects the company, for example.
Yeah.
But because they were such a big client, we ended up giving them, I think, like 6 months of free temp service just to kind of apologize for what happened. And again,
Wow.
these aren't even the worst one that I've gone through.
Wow. What? Whoa. I'm picturing this in my mind, and I'm like, and I'm gonna be. It's gonna sound odd on my part. I mean, now if I wasn't married and that person was interested in me, maybe I might consider it, but not at a Christmas party. you
Again,
know. But just thinking about it, like, wouldn't that have been an interesting sight to watch? You know.
well, again, like I said, this is not even the worst one. These two that I told you, those are just kind of the
Yeah.
warm-ups.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the worst ones. So
Okay.
I had I interview. I called this lady in who, when I called her in for an interview, was mid 60s. Um, she had a 35 plus career in accounting. Now,
Okay.
initially, I called her for like a position that pays $85,000 as a senior accountant. And when she came in, first of all, she started screaming and yelling. She didn't want to sign the paperwork. Now, obviously, like, because she was screaming, yeah, everybody kind of went to look at who this woman is. And
Yeah.
when they came out, and again, I apologize if I offend anybody, but she was one of the ugliest women I've ever seen in my life.
Oh.
They say ugly, like, like the unibrow, the crooked teeth. She had
Yeah. Yeah.
moles all over her face. She had
Mm.
craters from acne that never healed properly.
Ooh.
Um, and on top of that, was very angry and bitter, which made it even worse.
Yeah.
So anyways, I calmed her down. I explained why we need the paperwork. It's part of the routine for recruiters. It's permission to send a resume to our clients as well as to potential new clients based on, especially if she has a great background. I sent her to one of my best accounting firms. She had an interview Thursday night at 6:30. The
Mm.
interview ended up being about 2 hours long.
Oh.
And at 10 a.m. on Friday, my client called me, goes, she was just let go from her firm. I want to know why. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm friends with the partners there. They told me to let her go, but they wouldn't tell me why. I want to know why. I'm like, okay. So I call her and I'm like, so how did the interview go? And she's like, well, it started a little bit boring. And then we started talking about quality control. And this woman basically wrote the book on quality control for accounting without being a partner. So
Mm.
instead of an $85,000 job, the partner was talking to her about a $135,000 job with profit sharing, bonuses, laptop, cell phone, and a whole bunch of other perks,
Wow.
right? So I, and sometimes when you speak to someone, you get a sense that they're lying to you, but you don't really know why. But you, like, I'm good at asking open-ended questions. So,
Yeah.
okay, so what's your interest level? She's like 10. I'm like, okay. Um, are you still working at your current firm? She's like, yeah. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, the partner that interviewed you heard that you're not working there. So are you working there? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let me rephrase. The partner that interviewed you is friends with partners at that firm that you worked at, right? Are you still there? She's like, how does he know? I'm like, he knows. So what happened? Now, she said, oh, it's downsizing restructuring, but this should have been my hint that shit's about to hit the fan.
Yeah.
She said to me, well, they even gave me $1,000 to go see a lawyer and insisted on it. Now, all I heard was downsizing restructuring because this was kind of a, nice little commission check for me potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my client. I'm like, okay, we're good to go. They set up an interview for Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. She showed, and again, we're talking about a woman that's worked in accounting for 35 years.
Right.
She showed up to the interview drunk out of her mind.
Oh my God.
Now, when I say drunk out of her mind, I'm talking like, imagine an executive boardroom table that
Yeah.
could hold like 20 people,
Yeah.
where the partners could smell the alcohol all the way across the table.
Oh God.
Her eyes were so bloodshot, and she was so drunk that she couldn't even sit in the chair. Like, she was falling off the chair.
Oh God.
Right now, after this
Mm.
happened, my client called me and said, we want you to check if something happened to her recently.
Mm-hmm.
We will pay for rehab. That is how good this woman is.
Wow.
Not the reaction I expected, but I'm like, okay, great. So I'm starting to reference her because they wanted to go check, and obviously, is this person an alcoholic is a very sensitive subject, and I'm trying to bring it up very kind of politically correct in that,
Mm.
were there any
Understandable. Yeah.
right? Were there any issues in a Christmas party? Were there any issues with there? Now she finds out that I'm asking about the alcohol. Now understand at that time I was working for a firm that had uh, 12 people working for me, including women. Okay,
Right.
so I'm on another line and there's a call waiting, and so I finally finished the call. I'm like, "Hi, this is Joseph. How can I help you?" And she screams at the top of her lungs, "So you think I'm a drunk, don't you?" And it is so loud that all of my coworkers are like, "Huh? We're gonna have to call you back." And they just hang up and they're just looking at me. And I put the phone like this far away from me, because
Yeah.
I didn't want my eardrums to.
Right. Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, I don't think you're drunk. The company that interviewed you had a little bit of concern, but they're very interested in you." And as soon as I said that, she kind of calms down. At this point, all my coworkers basically rolled their chairs and they're like now sitting like this beside me, listening to the conversation.
They're
Like,
like,
so
all right, we got the 411 now.
the phone is like away from me, and then I comment. I'm like, "Listen, there was concerns that they smelled a little bit of alcohol on your breath, but they're very interested in you." And again, I'm having a conversation where I feel like I enter the twilight zone because I know something's up, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to so I'm like, again, we're not talking, you're 20 years old where you partied last night and you still have like the alcohol leftover smell.
Yeah.
And
Like,
so I'm like,
like,
why
yeah,
would
like you have a hangover. Yeah.
right? I'm like, why would you have a drink before an interview? Like you've had a 35-year plus career. Uh, and again, I instantly got the sense of something is happening, and so she's like, "Well, lots been happening." I'm like, "Okay, did somebody pass away? No. Did your pet die? Did something traumatic just happen?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, no. At this point, I'm like, "Okay, I know there's something there," so I keep asking questions. I'm like, "Okay, so again, 35-year career, why would you have a drink?" And then she said, "Well, in the last firm, it was the partner's fault that I drank." I'm like, "Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Was there any sexual harassment? Was there any harassment or anything in the firm?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "What do you mean it was the partner's fault that they brought that you drank?" She said, "Well, they're the ones that brought the liquor into the office." And I paused for a second. I'm like, "Listen, there's a difference between having a glass of wine or having a bottle of wine. Like, even in our recruiting office, every 2 weeks, let's say, we close an hour early the office and we share a bottle or two of wine between the 12 of us, kind of thing."
Right.
But again, just because there's one in the office doesn't mean that you have to drink it.
Right.
So again, I need a little bit more on why you drank.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, she blurted out, "Well, the alcohol is not the problem. The problem is that men find me attractive." At which point, my entire team, including the females, burst out laughing because they all saw her, right?
Oh
And
my
so,
God.
thank God for cat-like reflexes. And I'm like, "Mute, mute, 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 mute."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, guys, I need to get to the bottom of this." Like, and okay, everyone's calm, and I'm like, "Okay, what do you mean men find you attractive?" To which she proceeds to tell me that in the last basically 5 jobs she's had affairs with the senior partners.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "Listen, unless one of these partners is willing to admit to the affair, ruin their reputation, ruin their marriage, I
Mm-hmm.
can't really go to my client, which is a public accounting firm, and say, 'Hey, Phil, don't work late,' right?
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about the alcohol, just don't work late." So now I realized I can't. So I called my client. I'm like, "Okay, we can't continue. But now I know that I need this quality control specialist for
Yeah.
manager for you."
Yeah.
I'm searching. I'm searching. About 3 months go by, and I was looking for something else, and I came across this resume. I called this guy. I spent 45 minutes. I'm throwing everything at him to get him
Yes.
to agree. At the end of 45 minutes, he looks at me and goes, "Where were you a week ago? They just offered me to become partner in this firm. Otherwise, I take you on the job or the opportunity."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wait, listen. I've talked to you for an hour. By any chance, do you know anyone that could do this job that's not a partner?" And he goes, "There's one woman. I can't remember her name, but she wrote the book on quality control for accounting." And I paused for a second and went, And then he paused for a second, and then he went, but I think there were some problems with her. And then when he said that, I went, by any chance, is her first name Priscilla? And he looks at me and goes, yeah, that's the one. I'm like, I've already gone down that road. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That is wow. That is way out there.
So again, so I have those kind of stories from experience of like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you would think that common sense is what the word means, common
Yeah.
sense, but it
Yeah.
is scary to me how far removed we've become from common sense as a society.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like right now, I'm even looking for a job because I was let go from Amazon because I was having some medical issues, and I'm also in the process of, um, working on a casino bus service.
Right?
It's like Greyhound, but it doesn't go to the city. I mean, it goes to the cities, but it doesn't go like
It doesn't go
to
it doesn't go to multiple stops. It goes basically like picks up to the casino, drops off the casino, and does a day routine of picking up and dropping off at the casino.
right, right. So, um, so that's where I'm at right now in reference to that. And you know, so if people came to you and said, "Listen, I'm looking for a job," what's the best advice?
I think this is a kind of a very loaded question, so I'm going to answer it in a few ways.
Okay.
Number one, I think the best advice I can give you is be proactive, not reactive, not be passive. Like, most job descriptions in North America say, hey, don't call us, we'll call you. And so
Right.
most people wait. But, you can act a little bit ignorant, and I use that in quotations, where
Yes.
you can say, my internet just crashed, my computer rebooted, or my battery died, I
Mm-hmm.
never got a confirmation. Call HR and say, can you check that my application went through?
Right.
Right now, you have to understand. Indeed, for example, one job posting on Indeed gets between 350 and
Mm-hmm.
5,000 resumes.
Right.
Right. So and most companies don't have the resources to sift through 3,500 through, let's say, 5,000 resumes, even 500.
Mm-hmm.
So they usually look at the first 100. So if you're 102, you're out of the range of being called.
Right.
But if you call the company and say, hey, can you check? Right, then you become first on that list.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 minutes to kind of give your elevator pitch of something you've done that
Mm-hmm.
is relevant and to the job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then kind of ask, when are you starting to interview for this role? Because if, let's say, they're interviewing next week and you go, if I don't hear from you in a week, can I call back to get some feedback on my resume to improve it? Second thing that most people do, both on their resumes and in the interview, is they use autoresponder. So
Okay.
tell me about this job. I know how to do this. I'm a team player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, generic cookie cutter stuff. So I love to give these two examples every time I speak to this.
Yeah.
If you're applying to be an administrative assistant or receptionist in a company,
Mm-hmm.
and you come to a company and say, I know how to answer the phone, I hope the company looks at you in shock and goes, really? A receptionist that knows how to answer the phone? We did not know that. Because
Yeah.
unless you live in an igloo, a cave, or practice the faith of Mennonite, my 2.5-year-old son can press the green button and go, hello. And it's very cute, right? But
Oh wow.
But if you can quantify your work, like I
Mm-hmm.
know how to answer 60 calls a day with 12 different lines. I can measure 60 calls a day with 12 different lines. I
Okay.
cannot measure, I know how to answer the phone. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use an example from my own career.
Go ahead.
So I can say, Joey, I'm an excellent salesperson. I know how to do B2B, B2C, account management, relationship building, lead
Right.
generation. I've done retail sales. I've done door-to-door sales. I've done car sales. I've worked in private education. I've worked
Right.
in recruiting. I know how to do sales. Now, all the words I just said are algorithmically important for a sales job because those
Okay.
are all the key words or technical words associated with sales.
Right.
But just because I've had a lot of jobs doesn't make me good at them.
Okay.
So now, if I give you a real example, I say I work for a private college that teaches first year mechanic and how to be a service technician in terms of parts and so
Mm-hmm.
forth, or do dispatch. that before I came in generated $530,000 in sales for the entire year.
Right.
In 1 month, I generated $860,000 in revenue for them.
Okay.
Which one would convince you that I know how to do sales? All of the words I said or the numbers?
Both. If you
Well,
really think about it, both, I
right.
would look at both, because if you're able to generate $1 million in 2-3 months, plus at the same time you're using your personality traits to generate that money through the sales in wording, who would not want to hire you?
Correct. But here's the thing. So when I give an example of I generated $860,000 in a month, usually the follow-up question is wow, and then how. And as long as I can explain the how, I've proven that I know how to sell.
Right.
Most people that go, like if you take, let's say, a software developer, I
Mm-hmm.
know how to code in Python or React. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Versus I coded this and I solved this problem. I got this result.
Right.
There's a very different listening when you kind of speak to what you bring to the table that's better, different, or other. So even in your experience in Amazon, here's what you did that produced results. You made money, you saved money, you increased efficiency in one way or another.
Right.
So even if you're a truck driver, you were able to do 50 deliveries a day versus
Right.
the average driver that did, let's say, 15 deliveries a day. Like there's a
Right.
very big variance, and
Right.
I'm measuring the quality of the results, and
Right.
then I can question the results. And as long as you can explain to me, like, I kind of look at what my route is and I try to clump
Mm-hmm.
things as close together as possible so I can do more deliveries at one time
Yeah.
versus going, one side of Philly, then the other side of Philly, then back to the original side
Right.
of it. So even for you, if you're doing a casino bus, for example,
Right.
it's like, okay, this is the casino in Philly. So I pick up at these central locations and I
Right.
do a route, but I do a route that's not stuck in traffic for an hour and a half. I
Right.
uses side roads so that I can get you there faster and pick you up more regularly, for example.
Right. Right.
That's what
Well,
people want to know
yeah.
versus I'm a service that takes you to the casino and brings you back, for example, right? Because
Yeah.
again, I want to know how frequently you come back.
Right. Yeah. Because like it's in reference to when it becomes operational. I mean, it's a regular like bus, like you see with Greyhound, like I
Right.
said, and I do have a general idea in reference to the direction that the bus, the way that the bus is going to get to the casino, because there are certain routes that they want us to take in reference to the casino wise. So like, in reference to Philly casinos, not many of them do what they call line runs. That's what this would be. The one that I would talk about is out in Bethlehem.
Right.
Yeah. So when I used to go with this one company that was actually out of Kutztown that used to service Philadelphia to this casino, they would take the Pennsylvania Turnpike through the mid county tolls up to Quakertown and through there. So that is kind of one direction I would look, but instead of picking it up from where the heck did they pick it up from? They picked it up from okay, yeah. We went through like by 30th Street. Okay. By 30th Street.
But that's what I'm saying is the more that you can kind of provide the details of the value and why your idea is better or why your idea will do this for the casino, the faster they'll buy into it, right? Because I'm going to do this and I'm going to have, let's say, to start one bus, we're going to do pick up and drop off every half hour, 45 minutes,
right?
These times, and then you can communicate that to people in the casino that if they didn't do well in whatever
Right.
they're doing at the casino, they can kind of leave, and there's a sense of responsibility because there's a level of pick up and drop off, and you're not worrying about,
Right.
that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
again, the more clear you are, and the more there's, we'll call it facts
Yeah.
or data or kind of expected results,
Yeah.
more likely the casino is going to go say yes, other than to say, hey, I'm willing to drive for you. This is my idea. Are you into it? Because
Yeah.
the casino needs to know what they get out of it. So they get
Right.
more people coming in and and rotating through. Why? Because not everybody wants to drive to the casino, because some people, when they go to the casino, like to have a drink or two. And so
Right.
it's
Yeah.
a safety issue. This is
Yeah.
right. And so you want to kind of portray that to them so that they get the value
Oh yeah.
partnering with you.
Yeah.
And this is where most people that are job seekers make the mistake. Make sure that you quantify results as well as add the technical terms.
Okay.
The third thing I will say is, don't just use Indeed or Career Builder or Glassdoor as your source for job finding. Like, you should break your job finding where about 10-15% of your time is done through job boards. 25% of your time is to register with employment agencies,
Mm-hmm.
recruiters, staffing firm, headhunters, whatever name they go by, executive
Right.
search, depending on the level of work that you're going for. And
Right.
register with at least, I would say, 6 to 10. The reason I say so much is because I assume half of them are not going to like you. They're not going to like your age. They're not going to like your accent. They're not going to
Right.
like where you worked, whatever the case may be. But if
Mm-hmm.
there's half that do like you, they already have contacts with companies that you might be trying to get into. And
Yeah.
they're not sending you through the applicant tracking system. They're sending you directly to a person that can make a decision to interview you, for example.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, 25.
Because what I've been doing is going actually to the websites like Walmart directly, Target directly, Wawa directly.
But here's the thing. So you have to understand, all those companies are big and they probably get volume. So what you want to do is apply online first, and then print your resume and go in person and speak to the manager. Say, hey, I'm Joey. I'm interested in working here.
Mm-hmm.
And if the manager goes, okay, we're not hiring right now, go, okay, great. Well, I just want to introduce myself. And
Yeah.
obviously, the manager first thing will say is, did you apply online? And you say, yes, I did, but I wanted
Yeah.
to introduce myself in person. Then you wait a week and a half, and you come back and you ask for the same manager and say, hey, I'm just checking in again to see if there's any changes. I'd love to work here. Even if the manager says, no, we're not hiring right now, go back a week and a half later. If you come back 2 to 3 times and speak to the same manager, they'll find a position for you, because you're more serious than the average job seeker that's just
Yeah.
click
And,
sends and
and
wait.
plus they want you to quote unquote shut up.
Again, that's a different conversation, but
Yeah.
it's more of just you're being proactive in that,
Yeah.
saying, look, I really want to work here. I'm willing to do stuff that no one else is doing. Like, I remember when I got downsized from my finance job because of 9/11, I walked into a movie theater in a suit and tie that was more expensive than the manager's.
Wow.
Right. And he looked at me, he's like, looks at my resume, like, handled $1 million transactions. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, listen, I just got downsized from my finance position. We're in November. It's end of year. No financial institutions hiring me. They're only starting to interview in January. And even if they start interviewing them, by the time everything's done, I'm not going to get hired till February or March. So I need to pay my rent. I'm willing to work 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and goes, you're serious? I said, yeah. He goes, okay, you're hired. That, like, literally, that was my interview, because I showed up in a suit and tie. I showed up to work in a movie theater in a suit and tie. I'm not a teenager.
Right.
I'll be 48 in 10 days.
Right.
It's not so. So there's a level of, because I showed up more seriously than others, and
Mhm.
it was understood that I can handle what I do, for example.
Yeah.
But that's where I said being proactive. 25% of your job search should be using LinkedIn and other social media, because companies have business pages. So if you post intelligent comments and observations, they'll start following you and start looking you up. 25% should be networking and going to strategic, using websites like Eventbrite, Meetup, where you can find like-minded people and befriend them and kind of get them to refer you to the company. And then 10 to 15%, which is the hardest, is to pick out 10, 15 companies that you want to work for, and use your podcast as a platform where you invite the executives to interview them about their skills and their expertise.
Mm-hmm.
and use that as a learning platform of how to get them to hire you. Like
Yeah.
what made you so successful? What are your three biggest achievements?
Right.
If you were to mentor someone, how would you mentor them, or what would you focus? What is your leadership style? And
Mm-hmm.
then tie in, hey, I'm in this field. Would you mind giving me feedback on my resume? It's a brilliant strategy that will open the doors for you. Most people don't understand that. Like, I had
Right.
a friend of mine that graduated mechanical engineering, and ironically enough, when he graduated, an entry level job required 5 years of experience.
Right.
So after sending out about 150 resumes and not getting anywhere, he printed his resume, picked 20 companies that he wants to work for. He went to the first one at 9 a.m., showed up. A receptionist said, "I'd like to speak to the director." The receptionist was like, "What?" He's like, "I want to, I have something personal to talk to him about." She looks at him and goes, "Do you have any meeting? Do you have a meeting booked?" He's like, "Nope." She's like, "Well, he's busy." He's like, "Okay, I'll wait." And he went and sat in the corner of reception,
Mm-hmm.
and he sat there till about 2:30 in the afternoon.
Wow.
At 2:30 in the afternoon, the director came out and said, "I understand you've been waiting for me all day. How can I help you?" And my friend said, "Look, I've researched your company. I'm a recent mechanical engineering graduate. These are some of the projects I did in university. You're one of the companies I want to work for." And the director was like, "You were willing to wait here the whole day just to have?" He's like, "Yeah, I wanted to introduce myself. I know you don't have any job postings, but I wanted you to see me so that when you are hiring, you will consider me."
Mm-hmm.
Within a 10-minute conversation, my friend was offered a job for a
Wow.
position that was not posted anywhere, that did not exist.
Right.
Uh, and most people don't do that. And it's kind of that mindset of, well, I'm waiting for Indeed to respond. Understand, the
Mm-hmm.
success on Indeed is less than 5%.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, how can people reach out to you if they're interested in
So
wanting to be better?
active on most social medias. Joseph Stetter, my name. If you're ever in doubt of how to spell my last name, think of the word stutter, but instead of a U, it's an E.
Mm-hmm.
So Stetter, for example. And Joseph, I'm most active on LinkedIn. That's probably the fastest way to find me. But Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, I tend to respond to all of them uh, in that capacity.
All right. All right. Well, Joseph. There was one more question.
Yes,
You're also in the process of starting an AI state of the art. Uh,
correct.
can you explain that very quickly for us?
So I'm basically doing something that the HR world has done very limited of, and which is combining not only the technical skills but also the cultural fit of the individual. So I'm taking psychometrics. I'm taking uh, you know behavior patterns. I'm taking leadership styles. I'm taking a multitude of things, and I'm kind of going, here's the technical skills, and here's kind of 15 different ways that we rank the technical skills, and here's all the social skills that you might want. Because let's say not everybody in the company wants to become the CEO, right? Some people just want to be told, "I'm doing a good job." And
Mm-hmm.
so you're going to treat them very differently than people that want to become leaders, in a
Mm-hmm.
sense of giving them more responsibility, or letting them lead a team and so forth. So, like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, a lot of engineers, when they get promoted, feel that it's a punishment, because many engineers like to be technical. They don't
Yeah.
like to speak to people, they don't like to tell people what to do. And so, just because you work for a company for 10 years does not necessarily mean that you're ready to become a manager or a leader, for
Mm-hmm.
example. But sometimes you're forced into it because you're like, well, you've worked here the longest, you're now the manager,
Yeah.
right? So my system will identify the people that actually want to be promoted, but
Mm-hmm.
also create engagement. Understand that turnover in North America is costing $1.4 trillion a year
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
Disengagement, 70% of employees in North America right now are disengaged, which is costing $468 billion a
Mm-hmm.
year,
Wow.
right? So my system will show companies how to engage their employees. A lot of companies use the word corporate culture, but they preach it, don't
Mm-hmm.
actually practice it, right?
Right.
I have
Okay.
a friend of mine that got hired in the bank. When they interviewed her, they showed her this beautiful state of the art yoga room.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was interviewed, she's like, "Oh my God, they get it. They get mental health and well being. They get, you know, what's going on right now. She was so excited to be hired by them. She got hired. There's no yoga instructor. There's no incentive for her to teach yoga.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't even you get an extra 10 minutes at lunchtime for you to do the yoga and still have time to do lunch, for example. So there's this beautiful room that's empty and no one's using it, but the company says, look, we care about your mental health and well-being because we have a yoga room.
Right.
What's the point of having a yoga room that no one's going to use, for example?
Right.
So I'm bridging the gap between what's being said, so I'll use another example. I'm a big kid at heart, so I love holidays like Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So if the company says, let's do a Halloween costume party, and none of the executives dress up, it sends a message of like, yeah, whatever, go do whatever you want, but we don't actually care about you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why, sadly, 70 to 90% of people in North America hate their job.
Right.
Are so disengaged. So even if an executive has meetings, podcast interview, for example, show up for 15 minutes wearing a mask from the dollar store, right? Take pictures, shake hands with people that actually dressed up, acknowledge their effort. That 15 minutes, and then go do your meetings, take off your mask.
Yeah.
That 15 minutes is the difference between I trust you and I'll follow you, to you don't care, so I don't care. So I'm going to do the bare minimum not to get fired, but I actually don't care.
Right. That was one thing I can say with Amazon that was really interesting is they did actually do Halloween. They did have like a staff member. Well, I didn't do it because I just didn't feel comfortable doing it, especially with my age and stuff too. But at the same time, I mean, I can remember. Oh my God, I'm going to date myself back exactly 35 years on this. I worked at a supermarket a long time ago, and I was a cashier. And Halloween came around, and I decided to dress up as a priest, of all things. So I turned around and I made some fun off of it. So most of the other coworkers, like, how you doing? I said, you're talking to his twin brother. Instead of me being Joey, I wind up being someone else.
Right.
I said, I'm just covering for him tonight. He's out partying, or he's out doing whatever, but I'm actually, working. But I made it fun when I did it. But with Amazon, I mean, some of the managers got into dressing up, and then there was others that that didn't, but not because they didn't want to. It could have been a safety issue because we worked in a warehouse,
right?
In reference to it, but I will say that the warehouse I worked in, the Amazon facility I worked in, was a lot of fun, and I mean, I still talk to one of my former coworkers once in a while, and he lets me know what goes on over there, and just that so much has changed in that building since I left, since I was let go. But I was not let go for performance, to clarify. It was nothing to do with performance. It was because of an issue with attendance, they considered it. But right. I had also had injuries in my knee that was why it made it all connected.
Right.
So hopefully by the end of this year, well, actually hopefully a little more faster than that, speedier than that on it, but I am hoping to have my own business running, and even having it where the business is actually sponsoring events with this podcast.
Right.
So but Joseph, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You're welcome to come back on anytime you want. Anything you want to present, anything new that you want to present and promote comes out. just let us know. Let me know, and I'll be happy to have you on. All right. Everybody, check Josef Stetter out on social media. And if you're looking for a job and you think he could do it for you within 2 days, you put his expertise to use and possibly getting you the dream job you want in 2 days, reach out to him, and he'll work something out with you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching Life with Joey Calvo podcast. God bless you all.
Have a great day. Thank you.